So I was totally wrong about the name of Story of Place. Regenerative Institute, our lineage, was right with storying place because it's a doing, not a being, and it didn't really bother me at the time because we're doing it in the field, so it doesn't matter until now. So I was just on a flight for 3 hours, so I'm hyped up and full of fancy ideas. So we're holding the premise that we do the story of place work around as a value-adding process for a project, as the foundation layer for a region for regenerative development work. And whatever comes from that place, from that storying place process, we materialize into a bioregional learning center, or living center, loving activation thing, whatever, it doesn't matter. And like, not every place has to have a center. The project might be like an old growth forest, and you're literally just harvesting the wisdom of indigenous culture properly. not appropriation, but you know what I mean. So it could be anything. And also from that process, the energy in place that you're materializing is what really forms. It's the energy in place that forms the basis of how you do the financial models and the financing for regenerative development and everything. What I was also, as I'm bouncing around to different communities and property owners and everything, the story that I've been trying to like help people see, because I'm developing my communication skills, is, you know, like, remember back in the 80s when the cartoon books used to have like big furry fluffy monsters that like they were monsters, but we loved them because they were just like big. And I was like, imagine this, like this place X here is we do a story of place, and we co-design this character, and it turns out it's one of these fluffy monsters. On the plane I was thinking, yeah, storying place, they were right with that, and creating a story and continuing. And I was like, really, like a cultural, well, it has to be cultural, obviously. So you got place, but then it's like you've got we've got a super strong and amazing and interesting culture in Australia, so the oldest. So there's all sorts of beings and context and song lines and all this. Like, the stage is set for Australian story and culture of what we can co-design with, and that's the same as everywhere. So I was like, yeah, well, like, imagine in each of these places, our kind of, we gamified it, like, for fun, because you can't separate art, culture, and regen. They're inseparable, and so the artists have this really cool muse, this inspiration from Story of Place to create this thing with the community. So, well, what about it globally? Like, all storying places, all TRPs, regenerative practitioner lineage, all the projects all over the world, local communities getting together and co-creating their story. And the rules of the game are like, it's got to reflect your own cultural heritage, lineage, whatever you would say, particularly indigenous, if you've still got some left, hopefully. And what that does is, if the rules of the game is that you can't appropriate indigenous culture, so they have to be at the table, otherwise you don't get to play. And so to get the character, you have to do the regenerative development work, you have to do real story in place, you have to lay the foundations through a live project. So you've got to have one live regenerative development project, story in place process in the region, maybe materialize a bioregional institute, learning center, whatever. That's not really what it's all about, but this character thing. And these are the sorts of rules of the game. It's like, well, what about if everyone owns this sort of character, each place owns their own character, there could be a meta story, like a meta storyverse for all this. And I was thinking, regenerative development for us is it's not about problems and solutions, it's about essence and potential. We actually want everything as a whole. We only work with whole living beings, and then we work towards their potential. So what about it's like the essentials? Like, it's what we do, we essentialize things. It's the essentials, as in, it's the essence of the living being, co-created character, but it's also the most essential thing, like the whole living being of your region. That is essential to our life. So imagine it's like the bioregional movement, or it doesn't have to be bioregion, be whatever, it doesn't matter. But breaking the silos of nations and states and all the things, all the colonial things, and just a storyverse of these self co-created beings through a process that drives regenerative development around the world and the promotion of it. And I was like, well, where would this be housed? And I was like, well, I'll hold the Essentials, grab the domain, and also be in the Bioregional Institute, say that, because it's a not-for-profit, but it's also a co-op. So it means even the Bioregional Institute, we don't sort of make the decisions. Every single bioregional learning center or community thing, or old growth forest, or like river, the Martuwarra Fitzroy River, as a living being, all these places have the actual vote. The place has the vote. And where before I was thinking it's kind of cool having a nice mascot that's co-created, like this character, this cultural representative being that can be in all sorts of forms of art. But then I was like, well, that's actually pretty wild, that the Bioregional Institute is technically then conceptually a membership base of these representative beings of real living beings that we're regeneratively developing in place all over the world. And so and any of the profits from all the Storyverse stuff, I imagine kids books made off it, or anyway, like the point of these things is for us to be able to have a real relationship with something and be able to teach it and be able to speak the same language. And so each place owns their own being and how they market it and brand it, and whatever they do, make kids books, whatever, it doesn't matter. That's for that place, that team, that group, that community, whatever. But the Storyverse itself, any sort of meta branding or anything that comes off it, money comes in, 100% of that can go to resourcing less economically developed places to do theirs. So it's just like perpetual storying ecosystem. And it's a place for, it's the place for arts and culture and community and everything else we know about, regenerating the world from the living place and everything. I just thought it was another really cool avenue for everyone in the world to do. I want to see, what does Pakistan's one look like? What is Istanbul's bioregion? What's that being come up like? What's all these different places, and everyone just a global network of people having fun through this. It just lit me up. I've just been playing with that for 3 hours. Anyway, just meeting the style bender now. Just arrived in Adelaide. Oh, here's why it started. Adelaide. We're doing we're doing the main work on the super basin, which is huge. But we're working in with some of the elders about and talking about work on the songline. So if you know anything about songlines, if you don't, Google it. If you want to know some amazing culture that we've got, and you probably had it in your place as well, have a look. And so it was this thing, beings walking on songlines, these representative beings talking to each other and interacting with different communities through this play, this evolution of thought and creativity. So yeah, fun.